All right, let's get into this. So we'll start back at the very beginning. So they said they were conducting a firearms investigation. Now, I like how they, of course, released the body cam footage and all that. However, this is the police agency that has all the information, and this is not a whole lot of information. So it's very disheartening to me that I can find more information at a news entity called Indy Star than I can from the people who basically did the freaking investigation. So firearms investigation is very vague, right? Well, according to this article, the 46-year-old is listed in a police report about a shooting that occurred on April 10 in the 6800 block of East 47th Street in Lawrence. Lawrence police told Indy Star that a person was reported shot in the incident, but when officers arrived at the scene, they did not find anyone injured. Captain Travis Klein said the suspect's involvement in the case is still being investigated. According to online Marion County court records, the suspect pled guilty in 2017 to carrying a handgun without a license with a prior conviction of the same offense. His 2 charges of pointing a firearm were dismissed. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison with a release date in 2019. In 2006, he was found guilty of carrying a handgun without a license. 4 additional charges, including criminal recklessness, battery, and pointing a firearm, were dismissed. So, that is a miscarriage of justice, in my opinion. This guy being this old, those charges that they listed on there, what he's done, I suspect that he has done more criminal things in his life. Him going to guns and assaulting people with guns, him assaulting people with guns seems to be a normal thing for him. The fact that he had the same charge once before, but was allowed to plea down the first time, and avoid the criminal recklessness, the battery, and the pointing the gun at someone, that in of itself was a miscarriage of justice. They should not have allowed him to plea down. And then, in 2017, when he pled guilty, they allowed him to have the 2 charges of pointing a firearm dismissed. I don't know much about Indiana law. I don't know how long these sentences can carry for, but let's just say that they kept the 2 charges of him pointing firearms at people. I would say that there is a good possibility that had they fully prosecuted him, not allowed him to take a plea deal, give him as much of the max sentence as possible for all the charges, he would not have been out on the streets doing this shit. His ass would still be in prison where he belongs. It is an unfortunate recurrence within this nation of the courts giving criminals slaps on the wrists, and then they get out and they continue to victimize people, and they victimize our police officers. So aside from that miscarriage of justice, I cannot talk this morning. Aside from that miscarriage of justice occurring, another bad thing I see out of this is the fact that these officers would have known all this information. They know this guy's being looked after for a shooting that occurred. They would have known his prior criminal history, seen that he had been charged with those things. He would have been found guilty with the gun charges. That alone, just that information alone, should have told them that they needed to have rifles. And in the video, I can only recall seeing one person with a rifle. Everyone else had pistols. That is a problem to me. And the fact when he was observed coming out of the house, he had a rifle case. What the hell's in the rifle case? A guitar? No. He's got a fucking gun. Probably a rifle in a rifle case. So that, to me, is failure number one. Officers neglecting to get rifles ready. They know they're going up against the guy who likes to play with guns. They know they're going after a guy who's been involved in a shooting. They should have had more rifles out. The passengers in these vehicles, those officers should have had rifles out and ready. This is going to be a high-risk stop. Unfortunately, this is another recurring thing all across the nation. Officers neglecting to get rifles out when they need to be getting them out. I believe this is a training issue. I don't believe that patrol officers are getting the proper amount of training for rifles to instill in them that a rifle is superior to a pistol. Rifles are more accurate than pistols. They have longer barrels, and there's more points of contact on them. A pistol has a very short barrel, 5 inches or less, pretty much. One point of contact, basically, on that handgun. Just the handle itself. That's it. You put your dominant hand on there, and then you take your non-dominant hand, and you try to wrap it around there to get a two-handed grip. That's it. That's all you've got. With your rifle, you could put both hands on the rifle at different points. You have the stock that you can press into your shoulder, press your cheek down into it, and if you got a sling, you can even put your support elbow into that sling and tension the whole gun back into your body. If this passenger officer got out and had a rifle, this gunfight, in my opinion, would not have lasted as long as it did. And I don't think that the other officer would have been shot, or both of them would not have been shot. I think that gunfight would have ended a lot quicker. I think that the reason why the gunfight went on as long as it did is because they had pistols, and pistols suck for accuracy. Out of all the rounds they fired, I don't know how many rounds they fired, but out of all the rounds they fired, I know for damn sure not all of them hit the bad guy. Only a small number of them, I would say, hit the bad guy. So, if that passenger officer would have had a rifle, for sure, I think this would have ended a lot quicker. Now, this guy gets out with a rifle, and that's a good thing. I would say that it's possible this officer made hits on the bad guy. I wish they would have provided some more information about, what this guy was hit with and whatnot, but they just don't provide a whole lot of information. But I would say that officer who had that rifle was probably making hits on that bad guy. And I would say that probably that guy having that rifle probably had a hand in this gunfight ending when it did. If that rifle had not been put into play, this probably would have lasted a lot longer.
Detective DeLeon's body-worn camera video begins just before the pursuit was initiated on North Post Road. The pit maneuvers occurred just after the westbound turn onto East.
Watch out, watch out, watch out. He's gonna hit a tree. He's gonna hit a tree. Stop! Reloading, reloading. Ah! Ah! I'm hit. I'm hit. I'm hit. I'm hit. Ah! I'm hit! I'm hit! I'm hit! I'm hit! On my foot! On my foot! Keep up! Stay on them! Stay on them!
Body worn down in 20 seconds.
So this guy gets shot in the foot, and he takes off sprinting pretty well. The other guy gets shot, but he stays in the fight.
Stay on them!
Sending body worn down in 15 seconds.
Get down!
So this body camera, you hear it talking in the background saying it'll send body down in 15 seconds or whatever. So when a person utilizing this particular model goes into a horizontal position, like they're laying down, the device will start this countdown. And at the end of that countdown, it will send out information to the dispatch terminal that an officer is down. That way, if the officer was unconscious, unable to make a radio call or anything like that, the camera itself is going to make that notification. The camera itself is basically a phone. It's an Android phone, pretty much, and it connects to towers, and that's how the cameras basically operate. Whenever a phone or the camera enters into a particular area, so let's say the dispatcher dispatches them to a call at 123 ABC Street. As that officer enters into that area, that camera can automatically turn on without him having to do anything to it. When the emergency lights in a vehicle are activated, there's a device inside the vehicle that connects with this camera, and you turn the lights on in the vehicle, and boom, it starts automatically causing the camera to record on the body, and also the vehicle camera to start recording. And it'll also make a notification to dispatch that lights have been activated, whatever. Even something like running, so it can detect the very shaky movement of running, and you can send an alert on that. You can also have accessories for your gun holster, so that when you draw your holster, boom, it notifies and also starts recording. So kind of a neat camera. The downside to it is it's large and bulky. I mean, it's pretty much a big ass Android phone.
On my right foot. Oh, fuck.
Detective Phelps' body-worn camera video begins just before the pit maneuver.
Fuck. Keep put a tourniquet on. Put a tourniquet on. On my right foot. Oh, fuck.
So I like how a lot of officers are carrying tourniquets now.
Keep put a tourniquet on. Put a tourniquet on. On my right foot. Oh, fuck.
Unfortunately, I just don't think that a lot of people understand when tourniquets are to be used. So I guess I'll take the fact that at least they're carrying tourniquets and say that that's good. and just kind of not worry too much about the fact they just don't know exactly when they need to be utilized. Not every wound to an extremity is going to require the use of a tourniquet. A tourniquet is for arterial bleeding. When an artery is hit and you have severe bleeding, that is when a tourniquet gets used. Not when you have a minor little wound. So this is a sign of not having an adequate amount of medical training. And I think that's a problem. I believe that if you're going to carry a gun for a living, you should carry medical equipment for a living. If you're going to be carrying that gun for a living, that means you're going to be having training with that gun, which means if you're going to be carrying medical equipment, you need to have training with it as well. If you're going to have the means to induce trauma, you should have the means to reduce trauma. A gunfight goes both ways. It is a two-way range. You could find yourself shot. Your coworkers could be shot. Your family, as an armed citizen, could be shot. It makes more sense to carry medical gear than anything. And in fact, when you look at statistics, what you're most likely to die from, things that are most likely to happen, it just makes more sense to carry medical gear over a gun, to be completely honest with you. What are the odds of you being mugged versus the odds of you being involved in an accident? Odds of you being involved in an accident are way higher than you being mugged. So it would actually make more sense to carry a tourniquet before a gun. A lot of agencies or companies will do the bare minimum when it comes to medical stuff. They'll do a CPR 80 class with a first aid block added to it. So it'd be a CPR 80 first aid class. That curriculum, although it's decent information for people to know who don't have any medical information at all, it is not a curriculum that is set up to treat traumatic injuries like gunshot wounds. The CPR 80 portion of the class is the meat and potato of the class. That's what you spend most of the time on. The first aid stuff, that is a very watered down, just general first aid class. You learn about environmental emergencies like hypothermia, hyperthermia. You learn about anaphylactic shock, how to assist a person in giving them their EpiPen, diabetic emergencies, how to assist someone with taking oral glucose, how to put on a cravat, how to apply pressure to a wound and put a bandage around it. But it does not go into how to apply a tourniquet. It does not go into how to insert a nasopharyngeal airway. It does not go into how to apply a chest seal, etc. It is very lacking in those regards. When it comes to gunshot wounds, stab wounds, stuff like that, those are things that you could classify as battlefield type of injuries. And when it comes to battlefield type of injuries, tactical combat casualty care is a protocol that is used to treat those battlefield type of injuries and how to go about treating those. So care under fire. If you're receiving fire, there's a protocol to follow when providing care to someone, moving that person out of the danger area, and then the order that you provide care for. The first aid CPR AED training is from American Heart and American Red Cross, and it is set up for medical people. It's set up for like EMTs and firefighters and coaches and Boy Scout leaders and nurses and teachers, people who are not going to be there when the bullets are flying, people who are not going to come there until the scene is made safe by people with guns. So tactical combat casualty care is a type of medical training that should be sought. If all you have is CPR, AED, first aid, you're wrong. I mean, at least you got something, but if that's all you've got, you're wrong. You need to have more than that.
Recording.
Hold! Stop the fucking car! We're gonna be up.
Westbound 30.
He's got hit.
So I like how he braces his foot onto the door as they are coming to a stop. He is ensuring that that door is going to be open when he goes to dismount from that vehicle, and it's not going to impede his ability to quickly dismount and get to work. Just imagine if he had a rifle, being in this position. If he had a rifle, I just do not think that this gunfight would have lasted as long as it did. Takes contact, moves to the rear of the vehicle. So when it comes to vehicle tactics, putting as much of the vehicle between you and the threat as possible is the thing to be doing. Hiding behind a car door is not going to help you. Something as small as a .22 long rifle will go completely through a car door with no problem whatsoever. So if something that small can go through a car door, no problem whatsoever, you're damn right a rifle is going to be going through it. Now on the other guy's body cam footage, you can see holes in the back of the windshield here. So that was from the bad guy shooting the front of the car and the rounds passing through and going out the back. So you want to put as much of the vehicle between you and the bad guy as possible. Because the only parts of the car that will for sure stop a bullet is going to be the engine, the transmission box, and the axles. That's it. The rest of this car, bullets will pass through it quite easily. And rifle rounds will go through it like a warm knife through warm butter.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Police action shooting! Police action shooting! He's got a rifle! We got one officer hit!
I got an officer shot. Start the ambulance.
Drop the gun! Police, drop the gun! Police, drop the gun! He's still moving! He's still moving! Alright, hold fire, Matt! Police! Drop the gun! Police! Drop the gun! Hey! Stack! Drop the gun! Police! Drop the gun! Hey! Stack on me! Stack on me! Let's move up!
No, hang on. Calm down, John. Give him a minute.
I think I hit.
So Who's in charge at this moment? I don't know. I have no idea who's who. I don't know if this guy is of rank, if he's the most senior officer there, whatever. But they've got two conflicting ideas at this point. One wants to go forward and do work, and the other is saying no. What's the best thing to do at that point? Well, it depends on what they can see. We can't see very well through the body camera what they can see. If they could see the person laying out on the ground and he is not moving, it may be a decent idea to go forward and take them into custody. If you cannot see the person, you can only maybe see their legs sticking out, whatever, they're partially concealed, it may not be a good idea to try to go up there. It may be a better idea to hold your position and have someone else go along the side of where they're at. Let me bring that aerial up. May be better to have someone go to this house over here, go through the side right there and try to get eyes on that person and see exactly what they're doing. So they could be both right and they could be both wrong in this moment.
Back on me, let's move up!
No, hang on. Calm down, John.
Paramedic 30 in the chase.
Give him a minute.
I think I hit. Hey, I'm bleeding. I'm okay, fuck this, let's go! We're good!
I like this guy. You know, he's been shot and he's like, you know what? The hell with it. Let's do it. Let's go get him. I like that.
Good.
Okay, we have 2 officers shot control.
We're okay. Hey, we got one gone.
There's a male
in a blue t-shirt,
last being running
running southbound.
I got hit in the stomach.
800 block 30.
Get back, we got it, I got it, we're fine.
One suspect down. Start cars for perimeter.
Officers could see that Mr. Ghebrehiwet's rifle was within his reach. They used a ballistic shield to approach him and secure the weapon. Upon approaching Mr. Ghebrehiwet, officers quickly determined that he was deceased. There were no other occupants in the car as the passenger had fled on foot.
Vehicle.
Behind the shield. Driver, put your fucking hands up! Driver, hands up, now! Is that passenger? Driver, let me see your ass! Don't you fucking move! Stay on the passenger. Got a rifle. I don't see anybody in the car. Can somebody move this brake?
Good call. State's got their helicopter just setting this way information.
All right, so he's using his muzzle to rake the window. It's already broke, so all he has to do is take that muzzle and rake that window and knock the rest of that crap out so you can see into the vehicle a lot better. So that's a pretty good technique that he's using there. We don't get to see the bad guy very well. When he brings the rifle up, the rifle and the sling and everything kind of block the camera view. He's off to the driver's side, and he's kind of gone, the vehicle's kind of gone to this tree so some of the trees sticking over it. So I think he's kind of concealed a little bit under the bushes, or not the bushes, but the foliage. So we don't get to see that very well. Obviously, they can see him. Before having made that approach, I think it would have been an acceptable thing to deploy a less lethal shotgun or a pepper ball gun or something at this guy before ever coming up close to him. That way you can determine if that person's playing possum or not. You hit them with an impact munition, there's generally going to be a response from someone. Those things may not stop a person. They're purely pain compliance. They won't incapacitate. People fight through them all the time. But people have a reaction when they're hit with them. And if that guy was playing possum and he had no idea he was about to be hit with a 40 millimeter sponge round or a 12 gauge beanbag round, or get lit up with a string of fucking paper balls, he would physically react to that. He would wince, he would jerk, he would do something. No one that I know of can take a hit from those things and not react in some way to it. So that, I think, would have been an acceptable thing to do. Deploying a canine would be another acceptable thing to do. The canine is there to take the life, or is there to save the life of a human. If something has to die, it's better that the dog dies than the human. I think a lot of handlers, because they have the dogs live with them, and the working dog is I mean, it's almost just like a pet, right? Like, if these dogs were not working dogs, they would be pets. And because of that, these handlers, I think, start to view their dogs as pets. Not all of them, but a lot of them, I think they start to view them as pets and build this relationship with them and don't want to see anything bad happen to them. And so I think they're a little bit more reluctant to send them in when they need to be sending them in. The dog is a tool. It is as much of a tool as it is like a tool for, the baton, the taser, the gun, the car, the cuffs. It's just a tool. It's a breathing tool, right? It has life, but it's just a tool. And it's better that a dog dies than a good human dies. So sending a dog in, I think, would have been acceptable before making that approach on foot and getting up there to them. You see these stringer rounds right here. I would suspect that this is going to be the passenger side of the police car, because we don't see anything on this side as far as the door, except for, well, that could be it down there, possibly. You see a mark right there, but it's hard to tell for sure. But this could be the passenger side vehicle, not really sure. And of course, this driver's side. So these aren't, and this looks like a hit right here too, possibly. So this, this is not the greatest grouping or anything, but this kind of shows you that this guy did have some consistent rounds or hits kind of within a grouped area.
Detectives DeLeon and Phelps was struck by multiple rounds fired by Mr. Ghebrehiwet. The passenger in the vehicle was apprehended in the 27. A rifle was located next to.
So they say rifle. It does have a stock on it, but no idea if it's actual rifle, carbine, or AR pistol. So a rifle is something like an M16, an M16A2. It's got that full 20-inch barrel on it. It's just long. That's truly a rifle. A carbine, which can also be called a rifle, has a barrel shorter than that. It's around 16 inches to 14.5 inches. An AR pistol has a barrel shorter than 16 inches. An SBR, short-barreled rifle, same thing. It just has a stock on it, a moving stock. So we can see that this does appear to be a moving stock. but we don't get to see the rest of the gun, so it's kind of really hard to say, is this a true rifle, or is this a carbine or AR pistol? I'm going to say that it's most likely not a rifle, since it has a collapsing stock on it. A rifle would have a more of a fixed stock on there. It's probably going to be either an AR pistol or a carbine. Either way, the terminal ballistics are going to be pretty similar between them all. It's still throwing out a rifle cartridge that can defeat body armor, soft body armor. Looks like he has a pop-up rear sight, and the pop-up rear sight is interestingly pretty far forward. It's not back to the rear like it would normally be, and it's hard to tell what exactly that thing is right there in front of it. That could be a sight of some sort, potentially. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I can't see what that is. But this rear sight being so far forward, that's a sign to me that this person, whoever set this up, has no idea what the hell they're doing. Was he the one who set that up? I don't know. If he had a better setup, if the iron sights were in a proper place and he was able to have an actual good red dot sight, he could have did a lot more damage than what he did. But thankfully, criminals are mostly stupid and don't understand certain things. And even if they kind of do understand some things, they don't always make the greatest decision when buying things. Like optics and stuff. You know, they will try to buy the cheapest, crappiest red dot sight, and, you know, they will not spend the money on an EOTech. If they get an EOTech on their rifle, it's because they stole the damn thing. They are not buying gear like that. Now, it's also likely that he's never taken any formal firearms training. So, a lack of formal training and a lack of good knowledge, I think, had a bit of a determining factor in him losing this gunfight. But one thing I think he did have was the experience of being involved in gunfights. He's got prior charges for this kind of stuff. And criminals aren't caught for everything they do. Law enforcement's like fishing. You can't catch all the fish. You only catch some of them. And one fish that's been caught may not be caught again. So there's no telling how many gunfights this dude's been in, how many shootings he's been involved in, and the police just don't know about it or just cannot prove it. So he probably does have some experience with gunfights. He just doesn't have any formal training. And that's another fortunate thing, is these criminals are not going out and getting formal training or anything like that. If they were getting formal training, it would suck. It would. It would be hell. Because when you think about the fact that they are getting into gunfights, and they're getting that stress inoculation, so to speak, with it, becoming accustomed to it, if you took that and then gave them formal firearms training, they would be hell to deal with. They really would. Alright, so that's it. Not much else to talk about with this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching. Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. Here we go.
IMPD began issuing body-worn cameras to officers in 2020. Body-worn cameras are designed to increase transparency, ensure accountability, and enhance public trust by effectively using captured video. Additionally, the camera footage can be used to highlight the realities of police work, used in administrative and criminal investigations, and to improve training and policies. IMPD uses body-worn cameras that are designed to self-activate if certain standards are met. For example, a camera will activate when an officer arrives within 500 feet of a dispatched run, begins to run, violently shakes during a physical altercation. The camera is in a horizontal position for an extended period of time if an officer activates emergency equipment with his or her patrol vehicle, or if an officer activates the camera by using a remote. The camera is attached to the officer's uniform mid-level in the chest area. The lens is fixed and does not capture everything that is seen and or experienced by the officer. Once the body-worn camera is activated, it has a 30-second buffer during which the audio is not activated, but the video is. This feature allows video to capture sudden incidents where either the body-worn camera self-activates and or the officer manually activates it. This critical incident video details an officer-involved shooting that occurred on April 20th, 2023, just after 12:40 p.m. Preliminary information is being presented in this video with the intention of increasing public understanding of what occurred. This investigation is still in its early stages. It may take a year or longer for the investigative process to be completed. Understanding of the incident may change as additional evidence is collected, analyzed, and reviewed. The following video contains graphic images and language. It is not suitable for all viewers. Just after 12:40 p.m., IMPD detectives assigned to the Indiana Crime Guns Task Force were conducting a firearms investigation. The task force was working with the Lawrence Police Department. Detectives were conducting surveillance of a house in the area of 9100 East 36th Street. The target of the investigation, 46-year-old Yefter Ghebrehiwet, was observed leaving the residence. He was carrying a soft rifle case and was seen getting into the driver's seat of a black Toyota Sienna. A second person was seen getting into the passenger seat. Detectives followed Mr. Ghebrehiwet south on North Post Road. Uniformed detectives in fully marked police vehicles attempted to stop the vehicle in the area of North Post Road and East 30th Street. Mr. Ghebrehiwet failed to yield. He turned westbound on East 30th Street. Detectives attempted 2 pursuit intervention technique maneuvers, which were unsuccessful. Mr. Ghebrehiwet continued west on East 30th Street. He turned south into a business parking lot. Mr. Ghebrehiwet drove into a grassy area behind some homes. His path was blocked by the terrain and he came to a stop. Mr. Ghebrehiwet began firing a rifle at pursuing officers. Security camera video from a nearby business captured the end of the pursuit. Detectives DeLeon and Phelps were in the lead police vehicle. The second police vehicle was occupied by Detectives Harris and Wallace. Mr. Ghebrehiwet fired at Detectives DeLeon and Phelps before they exited their police vehicle. Both Detectives DeLeon and Phelps sustained gunshot wounds. Detectives DeLeon, Phelps, Harris, and Wallace discharged their service weapons. Detective DeLeon's body-worn camera video begins just before the pursuit was initiated on North Post Road. The pit maneuvers occurred just after the westbound turn onto East 30th Street. Shots fired by Mr. Ghebrehiwet at the officers can be heard before Detective DeLeon exited his patrol car.
Recording.
3000 block North Post, moving over to number 2 lane. Hold on. It's going to be a black minivan, plate Tom King 276, Ocean King Tom. It's going to be a shooting suspect. He might be taken off. He's set up to go westbound on 30th from Post. We got a lot of movement before. Hold on a second.
No.
He's going to go west on 30th from Post. I believe the armed.
He's looking for a place to run.
Do it! Move! Shut the fucking car! Alright, we had an unsuccessful pit. Passenger doors open up, he's getting ready to take off. We're going to be in vehicle pursuit. We're going to be westbound 30th, coming up. Hold on.
Fuck!
Hey, relax. Sit the grass. Watch out. He's gonna hit a tree. Stop!
Reloading. I'm hit. On my foot, my right foot. Keep up. Stay on him.
Body worn down in 20 seconds.
Stay on him.
Sending body worn down in 15 seconds. Sending body worn down in 10 seconds. Body worn down canceled.
Bring me. My right foot. Keep my tourniquet on. Put a tourniquet on. Which one? On my right foot. Oh, fuck.
Detective Phelps' body-worn camera video begins just before the pit maneuver on East 30th Street. During the exchange of gunfire, Detective Phelps reported that Detective DeLeon had been shot. Detective Phelps was shot in the torso but remained engaged as Mr. Ghebrehiwet continued to fire at officers.
Recording.
Pull over! Stop the fucking car! Alright, we had an unsuccessful pit. Passenger doors open up, he's getting ready to take off. We're going to be in vehicle pursuit. We're going to be westbound 30th, coming up. Hold on, another pit. Fuck! You're good. Hey, relax.
Vehicle pursuit, westbound 30th from Post.
Hit the grass.
Alright, we're southbound. We're going to lot here.
Watch out. He's gonna hit a tree.
We're off road.
Reloading. Shots fired! Police action shooting! He's got a rifle! We got one officer hit!
We got an officer shot. Start the ambulance.
Drop the gun! Police, drop the gun! Police, drop the gun! He's still moving! Alright, hold fire, Matt! Police! Drop the gun! Hey, stack on me! Let's move up!
No, hang on. Calm down, John. Give him a minute.
I think I got hit. Hey, I'm bleeding. I'm okay. Fuck this. Let's go. We're good.
Okay, we have 2 officers shot control.
We're okay. We're okay. Hey, we got one gone.
There's a male in a blue t-shirt. Last seen running southbound.
I got hit in the stomach.
800 block 30th. Set up a perimeter.
Get back. We got it. Get back. I got it. We're fine.
One suspect down. Start cars for perimeter.
Officers could see that Mr. Ghebrehiwet's rifle was within his reach. They used a ballistic shield to approach him and secure the weapon. Upon approaching Mr. Ghebrehiwet, officers quickly determined that he was deceased. There were no other occupants in the car as the passenger had fled on foot.
Vehicle. Get behind the shield. Driver, put your fucking hands up! Driver, hands up, now! Is that the passenger? Driver, let me see your ass! Don't you fucking move! Stay on the passenger. Got a rifle. I don't see anybody in the car. Can somebody move the front?
Can you guys stay, please?
Good call.
State's got their helicopter dispatch heading this way. Information.
Hey, I'm gonna grab the rifle and I'm gonna drag his ass.
55.
Truck is clear.
Get it. Just make sure everything's clear. We're en route with 2 cops that are shot.
Hey, we'll move up. Just
So can we please split to find the suspect in the procession
You got it.
to the hospital? Split the channels.
All right, we're gonna move up to clear the car.
Cannot be as clear. I've already switched over and
Go
told.
ahead. Go ahead. Move up. I got it.
8835 in the backyard of Boney.
Car's clear. Car's clear.
Car is clear.
The guy that's out is back there.
He's out. We got a perimeter.
I got apprehension of posting Carla Drive on that guy.
A rifle was located next to Mr. Ghebrehiwet, who was pronounced deceased at the scene. The lead patrol car, occupied by Detectives DeLeon and Phelps, was struck by multiple rounds fired by Mr. Ghebrehiwet. The passenger in the vehicle was apprehended in the 2700 block of Post Road shortly after the incident. The passenger was uninjured. Detectives DeLeon and Phelps were transported to the hospital by task force members. Detective Phelps was released from the hospital the same day, and Detective DeLeon was released the following day. No other officers or uninvolved citizens were injured during this incident. The incident is being investigated by IMPD's Critical Incident Response Team. A separate and independent investigation will be conducted by IMPD's Internal Affairs Unit to ensure compliance with department policy. The Marion County Prosecutor's Office is being consulted throughout the investigative process. This incident will be reviewed by the Civilian Majority Use of Force Review Board. This occurs after the conclusion of the criminal process.